You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, another great week in Burleson. Thank you all for tuning in. I have Tina Michael here of the Moebius Syndrome Foundation, and I have to admit, this is a new one for me, so I'm going to get an education today. I have not heard of this syndrome. Sorry. I've seen the results of it, but I didn't know what to call it, so that's about it. But I have no idea about the causes or what's going on with this particular health issue, and so we're going to find out a lot today. And you also have a big fundraiser coming up in about a week, right, on Saturday?
Yes, sir. It's this Saturday, actually, at Lost Oak, 7 to 10.
All right, so Lost Oak's a pretty good place to have those kind of things. You know, what you do is, you go in there, have a couple of glasses of wine, and then you ask them for the give. It works better that way.
Yes, sir. And actually, they're really kind at Lost Oak. They have a fundraising package. So we have a wine minimum that we have to meet. So we want everyone drinking.
Well, that won't be a problem because Lost Oak really does have a good product. And so it's always been a good place. I've been to several fundraisers out there, and I've enjoyed every one of them. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the causes or the impacts of Moebius. We'll talk about your personal story as much as you want. I'm not going to ask you a lot of probing questions and whatnot. But before we do that, let's thank the sponsors in making this aware to the community. First of all, you know Otto quite well. You and he are good friends, are you not?
Oh, I love Otto. He does so much for the community that people don't even realize he's doing in the background.
Right. And what makes it even easier for us to support our place in Gina's is because the food's good. We don't have to go there and get indigestion. No, it's good food. I really do like their pizzas.
Oh, yeah. I ate there last night.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. And as far as our place, I go there at least every other week. I was there Friday for a brunch, if you will, mid-morning breakfast with a friend from my B&I group. And, the service is nice. And we got to talk to the waitress. She showed us pictures of her son. It's that kind of hometown feeling. It's a good place to go. And what I like about Otto's places, both of them, is they're very accepting and inclusive, all right? Because you go in there and you see a very diverse crowd, and that tells me a lot about how people feel and how comfortable they feel going to both Gina's and our place. How long have you lived in Burleson?
Definitely. I lived in Burleson since 2011. I'm actually from Granbury, so not too far.
Well, when I moved here, I started teaching in 88, moved here in 91, we were not a diverse community. And now we are, and I'm glad that they feel comfortable and welcome in a place like Gina's and Otto's and many, many other places. I don't want to give anybody the impression that that's not true for a lot of restaurants. Most restaurants I know are very welcoming, but I particularly feel that comfort level at Otto's joints.
Well, definitely, and it's not just one group; it's every group. So.
There's a lot of good restaurants here in town. We didn't have any really when I moved here, but we have a lot of good ones. And Otto will be the first to tell you. There's some, Station 330 and the Rim are excellent places and things like that. So, anyway, let's move on. John Williams over at Old Pro Roofing, 817-734-2756. I saw him on Wednesday at the B&I meeting. He is very busy doing roof inspections because the people that are on top of these things want to get it done before, the winter weather hits. And, you don't want to find out then you have a problem with your roof. And so he's been doing a lot of inspections. For him to come by and check your roof out is no cost. But, he'll tell you what it is that you need or not need with your roof. If he does my roof inspections. He comes up to me in June, and he said, your roof's fine. And so he wouldn't try to upsell me or give me some doomsday scenario or whatever else. So 817-734-2756. Also, my friend Jeff Kelly at the Withington Agency, 817-781-0546, or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. He's been on the show a handful of times. I like to have him on once a quarter to talk about Burleson real estate. Now, you live in Burleson, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. And this is the guy that I would trust to sell my home or help me buy a new home or any friend or relative of mine. And because he knows his business, he's a very, very ethical person. He's not going to, mislead you or anything like that at all. He's upfront, and he's very personable. And you're going to spend a lot of time with the real estate agent, so you better enjoy his company. And so again, 817-781-0546. I also would like to welcome back our friend Dal Warner. Oops, Let's go to Bass, and then we'll go back to Tiffany. Bass Printing, I'm going to welcome Al back. He has been busy, to say the least, but he's back on the show. Bass Printing and Consulting Services for all your promotional needs for business cards, brochures, hats, cups, shirts, pens and pencils, banners, you name it. If you can put a name on it, he can make it. And so he's here in town, 22222 East Renfro Street. It's the hub, in other words. And so he's a local guy. And so call Al at 817-616-8761. Again, that's 817-616-8761 or bassprinting.com. Also, now you can go to Tiffany. I just get them in a lot of order here. Tiffany Jane, working on next month's magazine at Local Life, goes to 30,000 homes. A lot of people see it. A lot of people have extra copies at their retail establishments. And so if you're perusing, or waiting or whatever, you can look at one of those. So it gets a lot of views, so to speak. Also, go to locallifetx.com to check out the online version. Local Life magazine. Okay. Anybody else? As far as nonprofits, we covered that pretty heavily on Thursday, I believe, but we'll talk about yours coming up. I do know that off the top of my head, this Thursday night, there's a pickleball tournament for the Center for ASD over at Southern Oaks. Wow, he's right on top of these things, isn't he?
That's my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a good day to spend away your birthday.
Playing pickleball.
All right, so it begins at 6:30. Also, the day after that, on the 26th, there's going to be a golf tournament there for ASD. This is one of their big fundraisers of the year. They have most of these outfits have at least two, one in the fall, one in the spring. Mm-hmm. And the one in the spring, Light Up Tonight, is usually about mid-April. So anyway, go contact them if you want to play or sponsor. There's still room for both. I believe that's it for the nonprofits. But one more. Okay. Well, this is for the Full Circle Women's Conference. Okay, this is the chamber event. It's on Pathway from 8 to 3. And you can, if you want to register for that, there's the QR code on their website or to contact the Chamber of Commerce. If you want to be part of that, there's going to be vendors there. There's going to be food trucks there, so you can have lunch there. They're going to have a lot of speakers. And I am not familiar with this particular speaker, Charlotte Korn, but apparently she, according to Melissa, that she's a wonderful, wonderful speaker. So there you go. So any more else before I go on? Okay, I think that's
now
good.
That I can see.
Okay, good. Thank you. As far as, first of all, define for the audience and myself what Moebius syndrome is.
Okay, Moebius syndrome is a congenital condition that affects the 6th and 7th cranial nerve in your brain. So it is either underdeveloped or not. Some people are missing those nerves. So depending on the severity, whether it's underdeveloped or missing, would be how severe your case is. My case is actually pretty mild. People with Moebius syndrome usually have partial paralyzation of their face. So you'll notice, like, the left side of my face is paralyzed. Some of us, both sides are paralyzed. So there's not very many of us. It is very rare. It's like 1 in 500,000 births. So it is very rare. That, like the point I made the other day, facial differences are not. 1 in 44 people in the U.S. have a facial difference. So that's over 7 million people. So we're not just advocating for people with our syndrome. We're advocating and trying to spread awareness for everyone who has a physical or mental disability, just so that way we're seen and heard and accepted.
When you say mental disability, the brief research I said, I really didn't get much into that. Most of the time we're talking about a physical situation.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
But can Moebius syndrome also affect one's mental health, I guess?
Well, there's a higher rate of people with autism. It's actually less than they once thought it was as far as the numbers. But some of us, we do have that condition as well. Mm-hmm. I don't personally, but like I said, the severity of each case is just different depending on whether your cranial nerves are, if they're totally missing or if they just didn't develop properly.
So this is something that happens at birth.
Yes,
in
it's
utero. So it's not like because some people, I bet, confuse you with like Bell's palsy
Yes.
or a stroke or something like that.
Yes, even doctors. When I go to the doctor, they think it's so rare. Most of my doctors haven't even heard of it. I was not diagnosed until I was 37 or 38, and it was just, I actually had a tumor, and it was a life-threatening tumor. And the doctor that took it out actually realized, because when they were going in to take this non-related tumor out, it was a possibility they would damage my facial nerves. They had to go through the side and peel back stuff. So that's actually when I was diagnosed. As a child, they told my mom all sorts of things, but this was in the 80s, and I was born in 79. So now technology has come so much farther, but she was told to basically institutionalize me before she got too attached.
That doesn't make any sense, because you didn't have any permanent mental issues at all.
They just didn't know back then. They didn't know. She was told I'd never walk, I never speak. My goodness. I couldn't go to kindergarten. They wouldn't, like back in the 80s, you didn't have to go to kindergarten like you do now. You could skip it. And I was too much of a liability. I couldn't go to kindergarten. In first grade, they tried to put me in remedial classes. My mom had to really fight and stand up for me and make it known, just because, I had this physical limitation and my face was paralyzed, that didn't affect me mentally. Now, some people with Moebius syndrome, like I said, there are, different varying degrees of it, that I think part of the awareness is that we're not always seen as normal people. So I can't even tell you how many times someone's looked at me and thought that I wasn't smart, or I didn't know what I was talking about. But now that I've grown older and more confident, I realize a lot of times I'm the smartest person in the room. I don't mean but yeah.
I suffer from that problem too, being the smartest person in the room. But anyway,
I think we're very similar in that area. I told you we were spicy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, who told you that?
No, I said I told you.
Okay. All right. See, as a former school teacher, we dealt with a lot of students with disabilities, but I'm glad that one thing that we've kind of progressed on is that we're not going to be quite so quick to put kids in a remedial situation just because of an appearance. Because I had students that had physical disabilities that were outstanding students. All right, they had various issues, from eyesight problems. I had one that was mostly deaf, and have had several in physical limitations about mobility. And so, one of the things I noticed about Burleson ISD when I first came here, particularly at the high school level in 1990, was for a small town, we had a pretty advanced special ed program, and a pretty advanced program in what is now known as 504.
See, they didn't have 504s
Right.
back when I was in school. Yeah, that was.
But we had people moving to Burleson just for that. All right, and so they wouldn't be quite so quick just to say, well, obviously she doesn't act or look normal, therefore she must be abnormal, therefore we're going to put her in, put her aside or something like that. And no, I had, towards the last few years of my career, if it was at all possible, they put them in mainstream classes. And, for the most part, it worked. There's a couple of cases I think maybe they overdid it, but most of the time, the kids that were put in my class that had 504 designations or some sort of situation, most of them did okay. I had kids in my advanced placement classes that would be on the autism spectrum.
Of course. I mean, I hate to say, it's television, but good doctor. I mean, a lot of autistic people are highly intelligent. I know.
Oh, you talking about that TV show about an autistic doctor?
Yeah.
I don't watch much TV.
You've never seen it?
I know what you're talking about. I very rarely watch.
He's socially, but he is very intelligent. I know when I was a child, I couldn't see real well, and they told my mom I should go to the Fort Worth State School for the Blind. And when I was about 3 years old, they taught me Braille. I came home and started imitating the other blind children because I didn't know any better. And my mom, that's what I thought I was supposed to be. And so my mom was like, no, you can see. So if I didn't have my mom to stand up,
kidding.
yeah, if I didn't have her to stand up for me and to fight to get me in those normal classes, because they didn't do that back then, I would have adapted to my surroundings, and who knows what I would be today.
Well, and that story I hear and I have heard for years, because I tell you the most, it's a good way of putting it, determined set of parents you'll ever want to meet are parents of a child with disabilities. You know, the thing about it is, we talk about this in my government classes about which groups of people in the school system get priority, and they all say football. They all say, you know, this or that. They never say special ed, but that's the answer, because they have the law behind them, and their parents aren't there to make friends. They're there to get what they need for their kid, and I don't blame them. Sorry. I don't blame them a bit, because, you know, God forbid, if one of my children, they don't have any disabilities. Well, at least their politics maybe, I don't know. But as far as, they don't have disabilities, but if they did, I can promise you my wife would be mama bear on that deal. And so you were very fortunate to have a mom that was like that.
I am very fortunate. None of my kids have a disability either. Just another quick fact about Moebius syndrome, it's not hereditary. So I don't believe that there's another case where anyone who has the syndrome I have has a child with it.
So you go through school, go to high school, I suppose, at Granbury?
Yes, I graduated there.
Yeah. Did you go anywhere past Granbury High?
Yeah, actually, I started at Weatherford College, moved on to Dallas Baptist
Hey,
University.
I teach there.
I know.
Yeah, all
I
right.
know. Yeah, that was a long time ago, though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
graduated in 98.
Well, yeah, I endorse Dallas Baptist for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons I endorse it is I'm betting that you were treated well there. You know, you weren't treated as maybe you were treated maybe in elementary school or junior high.
No, in college, even in high school, I think once everyone realized that I could do things, you know, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have a tough childhood. I mean, I was made fun of a lot, but by the time I got in high school, it kind of mellowed out, and in college it was fine.
Yeah, and most people by then had matured enough to know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Adults
hope.
are mean too, though.
Oh, you got that right. Yeah.
I'm telling you, at least once I wouldn't say someone's rude to me at least once a week, but honestly, at least once a week, someone asks me, like, what's wrong with you? Or what happened to you? And
how do you react to that? Do you just tell them it's none of your business, or do you just say, or do you tell them it's Moebius syndrome?
if they would have asked me 20 years ago, I would have probably gotten in my car and cried. But now I feel like it's my purpose to use the things that I have to go through to make others feel like they're not alone. So whether someone asks me politely, meanly, or calls me a name because I didn't see them and I bumped into them or something, and that's happened before, I just tell them, and you know, I feel like it's my purpose. And so, but for a long time, I was quiet, and now I'm never quiet.
Never quiet, huh?
Never quiet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Does it affect your vision?
It does. So we can't, most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, but we don't have bilateral eye movement. Like we do, but we can't control it. So you'll notice my eyes just kind of float like everywhere around.
I guess.
You didn't notice?
Not really, I guess.
Well, you know what? Thank you.
All right.
But so the neurological ophthalmologist told me, like, I use one eye or another subconsciously. So I never use both of them at the same time. So in that sense, it does affect our vision, because most of us don't have peripheral vision. So I have to turn my head to see. Yeah. But I can drive and I get around.
Get around. Now, does this affect any other part of your body besides the cranial facial aspect?
It can. I mean, there are lots of people who have club feet and who have missing limbs.
Really?
Yes, sir. Like I said, my case is pretty mild. So I have other health issues that are non-related to Moebius syndrome. That's why I'm trying to be an advocate for, you know, or just anyone who is physically or mentally disabled. And for a long time, I hated that word, and I wouldn't say it because but I mean, I do have deficits and things that make it harder for me to do things than other people. And now I'm in the authorities and I just kind of own it. I mean, it's my, it's my cross to bear. And then I need to use it for something good.
Well, you said you had a couple of kids, so you've been able to have that part of your life, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't taken from you.
No. And for a long time I was scared to have children because I didn't know. Now there's technology and we know that it's not genetic. And so, but yeah, I have a 21-year-old son. He works at Home Depot, really hard worker. And I've got twins that will be 13 in October.
Where do they go to school?
They go to school at U's.
Yeah, that's where I first started back in '88.
Yeah.
And I have some memories there. Some of them fond, some of them keep me awake at night. Now, you try to teach 200 seventh graders, and
oh my goodness, I've just got 2 at home, and I'm telling you.
Yeah, it was an experience, a learning experience for a rookie teacher. But I had good support, but it was still learning. But as far as other issues, I'm surprised because I briefly looked up Moebius syndrome and whatnot because I didn't want to act like I was too stupid. So I'll just act like I'm sort of stupid. But I did not know it affected other parts of your body and that severely as well.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, my case is pretty mild. I mean, I have other health issues that are not as mild. But we just had a conference in July. We have a conference every 2 years. And last year, this year, it was in Salt Lake City. And I have a friend who doesn't have either one of her legs. She gets around just fine. There are others that have missing limbs. A lot of Moebius people who have that have club feet, but I don't have any of that.
My goodness. See, I wasn't really aware of that level of disability. I thought it was mostly not a cosmetic disability because I know there's other issues involved, but I did not know it was could be that severe.
Oh, yeah. Even just the eyes. Like, you can think about it like I can't close my eyes all the way. I can close most, like, if I close my eyes, you can't look at me until they're open. Other people with Moebius, their eyes only close like halfway. But recently, as I've gotten older, I've had dry eyes all my whole entire life, and I use Restasis, but it's messed up my corneas so bad that I'm having to get these eye drops that are $92,000 for like 1 8-week session, and they want me to have 2 sessions.
Oh wait, $92,000 for 8 weeks?
Yes, they're frozen. It's called Oxervate, and they're frozen, and you have to use it every 2 hours for like 8 weeks. Yeah, they have like nerve regeneration. Yeah,
surely you're getting some sort of financial assistance on that.
No, my insurance, lovely United Healthcare. No, they don't want to cover it. But I actually used to work for Aetna and THR, and I actually worked for the CDC for a minute on a special project for 9/11 to help victims get procedures and medications covered. So I will fight the insurance company, and I'm sure eventually we'll get it done.
Well, I just $92,000, unless you have that lying around the house, I find that to be prohibitive.
No.
Yeah, holy cow. Well, see, we had a recent health issue with the hospital, and it was a pretty hefty bill. But we had insurance, but we still owe money.
Oh, yeah, I have insurance. I just don't, they don't, like a lot of us with Moebius syndrome, get a surgery called either there's a gracilis tendon or gracilis muscle transfer where they take a muscle out of your leg and put it in your face, or a temporalis tendon transfer. That's the one I had. They take a tendon from your jaw and move it to the front of your face so you can move your mouth just, a bit, because it doesn't only affect like your smile, it affects your eating, your speaking, your dry mouth. Like it's totally medical, but the insurance companies deny it as being cosmetic. So I had to fight that.
Insurance companies, I could do a whole show on that. In fact, it's ironic you bring that up because that actually is the genesis of why I'm doing this, what I'm doing now. 6+ years ago, I had some sort of insurance issue, and I ranted on Facebook, and people said, you ought to get on the air and talk about these things. And after kind of a dry run with another institution, organization, whatever you want to call it, another outfit, I started with this bunch here in September 19. And, that was kind of the whole original thing. You know Susie Morgan, right? She contacted me on Facebook, said, you ought to do this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And here I am. I do a lot more nonprofits than I do political rants, but I got one coming up pretty soon. So not today, though.
I've heard about that.
Not today.
Well, I actually went to Washington, D.C. Last year, 2023, and they're trying to pass a bill. We were trying to get co-sponsors. So I spoke to some of the senators, and actually our local representatives in Washington. It's called the ELSA Act. And it is an act where it would prohibit insurance companies from denying things that are cosmetic as being that aren't cosmetic, like
Right.
my smile surgery, perhaps as being cosmetic, because there's so many procedures, like even putting weights in your eyes. They want to deny as being caught, like so many things they deny as being caught.
Weights in your eyes?
Yes, like I can't close my eye. I'm not a candidate for having a weight in the eye because they're not strong enough, so they're afraid I wouldn't be able to open it. But some people who can't close their eyes all the way, they get little tiny weights so that way they can close their eyes. But I guess it helps their appearance as well. So the insurance company is denying, but they need that or they're going to have the cornea issues I have.
Good heavens.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a mess.
I don't know. It's, that really would be a good show again to get back to insurance because, we're in Blue Cross, my wife and I, through the TRS. And we've had a couple of conversations, shall we say. And my wife is really good at those conversations about, oh, yes, you will, as opposed to don't give us this routine. But that, again, is another problem.
Well,
And the thing, we were talking about it before the show, I remember when ADA came about, and none of the Burleson schools were compliant. And it was very costly. And I've talked about that on the show. I wish the government would have put some money behind it, but the intent was good. I just remember this one poor young girl that was in a wheelchair, and we had the only place on that campus that was multi-story was like Building 300. Okay, the old timers know what I'm talking about. It's a science building and whatnot, and they had a room upstairs for like drama and stuff like that. And what they had to do is 4 young men would wait for her. They'd pick her up, literally carry up the stairs, and then when class is over, they'd carry her downstairs. And so nobody had ramps or anything like it. And so for someone in a chair to get around was a real problem. How has ADA helped you a bit?
I'm be real honest with you.
That's what we're here for.
So, until recently, how do I word this? I never wanted to label myself as disabled.
Sure.
Even though everyone could look at me and say, you can look at me, but I had a handicap plaque. I would never use it. I would always think like someone needs this more than I do. So, but even without me purposely using it, ADA did help me back then. That I'm going to say as I've gotten older, it's gotten harder, and I've kind of had to put my pride aside a little bit. So ADA is a big deal. I mean, I hear things about people not being able to access, like the Calvin Center, and all sorts of things. And I'm so grateful for that. But we talked about this too. I just got elected as part of the disability advocate board for the city of Burleson, so I hope that I can help make a difference there too.
I saw your picture with the mayor on Facebook.
Yes,
so I don't know how much he had to do with that, but I'm sure he had to prove it. So there you go.
I don't know. I think city council approved it.
He'd be one of the city council.
I had never met Mr. Fletcher until that day, so hopefully people didn't talk too bad about me.
No. I can tell you, I've gotten to know the mayor pretty well the last few years, and there was a point in time that our relationship was somewhat strained. But I'll give him all the credit because he made the first effort to make it right, and now I consider him a very good friend.
Awesome.
So he took the first step, and I think that showed a great deal of humility, and so I consider him a good friend. I hope he does the same. So,
well, I'm sure Victoria.
And Victoria,
I love Victoria. She might have put in a good word for me.
Well, Victoria, you may know, is a former student, and what you see of her is what I saw 22 years ago, because she was always involved. Even then, you don't find many 17-year-old young people involved or interested in local stuff at all. They could care less. And as far as the person, exactly what I thought. Involved, great mother, loving wife, etc. I said, you could see that a mile away that that's what she was going to turn into. But, I'm sure Mr. Fletcher, though, was told and was on board because he does have a heart for that kind of situation, you might say.
Great. Well, I look forward to working with him. I don't start till October 1st.
No, that's not very far away. Yeah.
Not too long.
Now, as far as the ADA thing, what you mentioned, you didn't want to take advantage of it. No, whatever. A lot of the students I had did not want to take advantage of it either. I mean, they had to if they were in a wheelchair.
Oh yeah.
But the ones that were mobile, let's say, or whatnot, they did not want to be treated differently.
No. Part of it, I'm going to say, is pride, but part of it is you want to prove to yourself that you're just as. I had to learn that just because my body doesn't do what I need it to do all the time, that doesn't mean my spirit is weak.
Right.
And so I had to really realize that I'm really strong. All this stuff that I have to go through that most people don't have to go through, I can either lie down and cry about it, or I can use it for a purpose and a reason.
Well, I can think in my head right now, several students have had, but even at Southwest Christian, there was a young lady, I'll throw her first name out there, Emma, who had a surgical accident and left her paralyzed from the waist down. She has a master's degree from TCU. She's getting married pretty soon. Wonderful, wonderful person. And, so she didn't let that keep her down. And, the school itself, Southwest Christian, was equipped for ADA, so that wasn't really a big issue. Now, as far as BHS, after we got it in place, and then they built a new high school, which is now BHS, they had built it with total access. And so it wasn't quite an issue as it was when we were in the old building, which is now the early college building. I mean, that old high school from the old days, from the 90s, which became Kerr Middle School and all that, that would be a tough navigation for a lot of the kids.
Well, in your story about the boys carrying that just melts my heart. That those young men must be, I just admire them. They're doing something like that.
You'd be surprised. I know there's always some knucklehead, it seems like, that's going to say something stupid, but the vast majority of the students in high school that I taught mostly juniors and seniors, they had sympathy, I guess, or they had compassion, maybe is a better word, and they would help.
Yeah, because we don't want people feeling sorry for us.
That sympathy's not the right word, but they had a helping spirit, and for like kids that had maybe mobile disabilities, like maybe they could walk but not very fast, and kids would help them out, or they'd open doors, or they'd carry stuff for them, or they do stuff like that, and just the little small things like that.
It is small things, because when I was a kid, I'm being real honest again, I would get pushed down. I remember in second grade, I'd get pushed down in the mud, and then I couldn't get back up, and there was a circle of kids pushed me down again, couldn't get back up. But you know what? That made me who I am today, and it made my children be good-hearted people.
Yeah.
My son came home. He goes to Hughes Middle School. One of the twins. I have boy-girl twins, and there was a overweight child. And they were in athletics, and my son is taller than I am and thin. I mean, he's kind of a nerd, but he's not overweight. Well, this little boy was last, and instead of being mean to them, they all went back and got him and walked him to the finish line, and that tells me how far we've come.
Well, I believe you're right, and sometimes particularly in this world of social media, the negative gets so emphasized that we forget the really good things that can happen, and some of these young people really are getting raised right, and I think they're a lot more aware of people with disabilities than they were. And when I was in high school, I didn't participate in it, but we had people that had minor disabilities, but most of the kids that had bigger disabilities, they were put in different schools. They were kind of put off to the side, or they were put in a separate part of the building, and you hardly ever saw them. Now at BHS, the only people that were kind of segregated from that were those with very severe autistic situations. But most of the time, if they had any ability at all to function, they're going to put them in the classrooms. And at first, I thought, are you sure this is a good idea? After a while, particularly when I saw the results, I saw how the parents reacted, and sometimes with emotion, I thought was a pretty good idea. Eventually,
I mean, I know there's varying degrees of disability, but I'm a believer in let your kid try. Whether they are disabled physically, mentally, don't. And it's easier said than done because you don't want to see your child fail. I know that I am so glad that my mom let me try. Because if you have to end up moving your child to another class, that's okay. But what if they soar? What if they, yeah.
And at DBU and at Hill College, which I taught for a long, long time, we still do accommodations. But most of the kids I know, particularly in college level, they said, forget it. They don't want to be labeled as that. But I have had some that are dyslexic or dysgraphic, or they needed extra time if there was a timed test, which I don't do. Things of that nature, and it's fine. It's because it's really not an indication whatsoever of their mental capabilities.
Oh yeah, like now they don't have books anymore. But I remember when I was in junior high, my backpack was so heavy. I think I had 2 backpacks because I had to have big print books, so they were different than everyone else's. But they were like this, and I had like 7 of them, so I had big muscles. I can see that.
Well, what happened before, like you said, people got away from books. Towards the end of that period of having books, several of my students had those rolling suitcases like stewardesses have, or flight attendants. I got to say the right term.
We didn't have those back in the day either.
But it really is pretty interesting. Let's talk about your event coming up.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Do we have any? We have some stuff, don't we? Yeah, he's going there nods. Of course we do. What are you talking
I was going to
about?
say, I sent some pretty purple graphics. That's our color, by the way. The Moebius Foundation, or the Moebius Syndrome Foundation, our color is purple. And so a lot of us we don't have like a slogan or what have you, but a lot of us say to remind people to look beyond face value, or we say that we smile with our hearts because we can't smile.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Is this a national organization?
It is.
Okay.
It's a national, and I'm the Texas regional coordinator for North Texas. So,
We got this back to school and
so that was at our conference in Minnesota. I'm in that picture somewhere. I'd have to look. But that's from 2023, I believe.
Well, so most of the nonprofits I talk to are local outfits, but this is a national one. Is there a local chapter?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
I'm the North Texas regional coordinator.
So
for
it's
our
more than
chapter.
just Burleson. Then.
Oh yeah, and so we are these Moves for Moebius events. They're going on September, October, November. In all different parts of the country.
And you have a give button, I hope.
I do.
Okay.
If you go to you can
Ways to give. I see it up there.
Yeah, you can do it there. For my particular, because we are having like the regional events. If you go to givebutter.com and then
Butter.
Butter. That's a charity website. They host a lot of different charities, and every charity on there, is verified as a 501c3, and so you're giving to something that's legit. But it's givebutter.com, and then it's /NFM25, and that's my actual event website that goes directly to our.
One more time on the
event.
MFM business.
It's givebutter.com, and then M as in Mary, F as in Frank, M as in Mary 25.
MFM 25.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes my speech, like I have trouble saying, certain letters I do have trouble.
Well, that wasn't the reason. It was just I like to give
no,
it
you're good.
another opportunity. So as somebody who missed it the first time can catch it the second time.
Yeah, we want to give it out.
Josh, do you have the banner for the event this Saturday? Was that down, bud?
There you go. It's
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
See, he's right there. He's on top of it. Are you
He's
kidding?
good. See?
Yeah.
It's at the bottom. Give butter. Oh, you know what? I said it wrong. It's MFM25TX. Oh, my goodness.
Try it again. Then givebutter.com.
It's
slash
yeah.
MFM25TX.
See, I'd have messed that up.
Well, they'll see this. This is on the web, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. Or you can go to mobiussyndrome.org.
And so Lost Oak from 7 to 10.
Yeah, we're going to have karaoke. We've got a photo booth. HEB is our official food sponsor for the past 3 years. So they
HEB
provide
does a lot, don't they?
They do. And honestly, I didn't think with the floods that they were going to be able to do anything this year. That, you know what, they contacted me.
Well, that's not surprising. When they came in I want to say about 2015. Boy, they really made an impression on this community, because you're not the first person I've talked to that HEB is sponsored or whatnot. Put out a banner at the golf tournament, put out a sign at some other event. I mean, I see it all the time, and that's what. Here's another side note about HEB, if you will. I had students that worked in high school, and a lot of them worked past certain times of the night, which it was inappropriate, or they were, they weren't treated that great by certain employers. Not auto, by God.
No, not auto.
Okay, I don't want to imply that at all. But it was, some of these bigger employers. HEB made a point that their kids that are in high school were done by 10 o'clock at night, or, the kids, if they said, I can't work this because I have a couple of tests the next day, they would accommodate the schedule and stuff like that, so not everybody does that. I kind of go back to Otto. That's one reason I like his joint, because he has a long-term staff. I mean, they've been there a long time, and that tells me something. Mm-hmm. But anyway, back to you.
You're good.
All right, Texas moves or Moebius 2025 to Step for a Cause.
Yeah, that is our. But I didn't mean for that to get. That's our business sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can see HED and Gina's Pizza, and so one business contributed after I sent that. There is a local boutique called Ches Shea Boutique, and it's actually in Cleburne. And she does, I don't have any of this, but she does like the permanent makeup where they tattoo the makeup on your face.
Right.
And she actually made a donation as well. So I want to make sure I mention her.
Well, sure. Yeah, and so there's going to be a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Lost Oak is really good for this. Oh, look at this.
And this is our raffle. So we have a $500 HED card up for grabs.
Ooh, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, and so we have some really good prizes, and the runner-up prize is a basket with $100 of lottery tickets, and then we've got a Thurleson basket with $100 worth of gift cards in it. So we're trying to do that, and Texas has some weird. We can do raffles legally, but you cannot sell them online. So you can sell them on Facebook, but you can't, like, I can't have someone go and buy a raffle ticket on the Moebius website. You can take Venmo and like Cash App, but you can't. Does that make sense? So we're trying to stay legal. So we've got a Venmo, and then I've got my personal Cash App out there in case someone doesn't have Venmo. But yeah, in a lot of states they don't allow 501c3s to do raffles. So we're lucky that Texas lets us do that.
Well, that's good. But so that sounds like you got a pretty big deal. This isn't your first one, is it?
Oh, no, we've had 3. So the first year and they've been doing this longer, I believe, that I've had 3 in Burleson. The first one we had at Fitability, which was a perfect place to have this. We had a exercise class because it's national, but all of them are moves for Moebius, so we just want something that we're moving at. But it got to be too big for me to have it at Fitability, so we moved to Lost Oak.
Yeah, I'm well aware of Fitability. I had Jessica on the show many times. As far as, okay, I've already asked this one. I'll make sure, though. Do you have like local chapter meetings and stuff like that?
We do. I set all those up. There's not a whole lot of us, so we actually partner with other organizations. There's one called My Face, because like I said, it's not all about Moebius syndrome. It's about people with facial differences.
And this is the month for Craniofacial Acceptance Month?
Yeah, it is Craniofacial Acceptance Month. And like I said, 1 in 44 people in the U.S. have one of these differences. So that's over 7 million people, whether it's from trauma or congenital or what have you. There's 1 in 44.
And it is more varied than one might think. I have a very good friend. He's a little older than I, but he had nerve damage. And so a lot of people, and it made his face, one side of his face, immobile. And a lot of people assumed, and a lot of people assumed it was from a stroke or Bell's palsy, and it was really just nerve damage. And so he had some surgeries, and it's improved somewhat. And it was pretty much what you described, because somebody told me about it Sunday. He's a former member of our, he's not a former member. He's a retired pastor, and we see him occasionally. But anyway, the point I'm making is, I got that messed all up. that surgery you mentioned he had. Okay, and we're like, wow, who thought that up?
Well, mine didn't, like, you could tell my face isn't perfect, but my mouth used to be way down here. And after I had my tumor, when I was a child, it wasn't like as bad then, but I had a tumor that they had to take out. And luckily it wasn't cancer, but it was one that would have turned to cancer if they left it. So I knew I was going to have to sacrifice some of my facial nerves. So after that happened, they tried to do electroshock therapy and like all this stuff to bring the nerves back, but it just wasn't, because I didn't have the cranial nerves. It didn't work. So they ended up doing the surgery, and luckily we got the insurance to pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be promoted. The show is going to be promoted on 88.3 The Journey, which is my wife's favorite station. And so Rich is going to be, he's going to be on the show in about 3 weeks. I believe they have their quarterly fundraiser coming up, so he's promoting. And this also will be on community radio tonight at 6 o'clock and 1 o'clock tomorrow. And you're going to be on again at 1 o'clock today. In about an hour and 10 minutes, I put Thursday show on again on the radio. It's on TuneIn, Live 365, and have the links on Facebook. So you can listen to it that way. So this show will be aired a couple more times, so people hopefully you can, at their convenience, can hear it and make their own choices.
And there's so many good nonprofits, not just mine. I know the one that spoke out to me was, well, the Harvest House always does, but the one where she was providing meals for children on the weekends.
Susie Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah, Pac-Man.
I totally messed up that name. That's the one that spoke to my heart that I wanted to donate to.
Well, like I said, there's a bunch of them. And that show Thursday is my favorite show of the year, because we sat there at Otto's place and over at the pizza joint and, saw all of them interact with each other and, having a meal together. And they don't get to do that very much. And because, they're pretty busy. And Burleson is highly blessed to have numerous people working for these kind of causes. I talk to people that don't live in Burleson, and they ask about the show, and I say, well, I'm doing this nonprofit show, whatever, and they go, well, we don't have anything like that in our town. They don't know of any food banks, they don't know of any clothes closets or whatever, or people that work like you do for various causes. And so we're very, very fortunate.
Yes,
and
very blessed.
I would invite people to see that show again on Thursday on Facebook. It's on my page. It's on YouTube. And like I said, it's going to be on the radio at 1 o'clock today. So I would invite people to check that show out, because I think you'll get a really good impression of this town.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll let you finish this off. Tell us in about 3 minutes, I suppose,
Okay.
all about it.
Okay. Well, like at the bottom that says, look beyond face value. That's really my mission and my calling. Not only that, not advocacy, just so that way people with disabilities are seen. But I feel like my purpose is to help other people who may be going through what I had gone through previously or still going through, realize that if someone is weak and normal as me can get up and do what they need to do and live a good, happy life, so can they. And so I may make my struggles more public sometimes than I would like to, but it's not their sympathy. It's so that way others will realize they're not alone.
Well, I appreciate what you do, and I can appreciate what you've gone through. And, oh, by the way, Otto is watching. See, when I get on my phone, if he doesn't comment, they just were watching.
Oh.
He says, hey.
Oh, hey, I put my phone down here because I wouldn't be able to see it anyway.
Yeah. And our friend Darren Nash over in Cleveland also says, hey.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Josh, for being so quick.
Of course.
Tomorrow at noon, I'm talking to Sam Ross of First Baptist. We're going to talk mostly about what's going on this is my church, and we're going to talk about how the changes are with our new pastor, Chris Wigley. Also, I'm sure we'll both end up talking about the Opportunity Fund, which is coming, event pretty soon, and we're both on the board. Also, I'm trying to schedule a time, just a small segment, to just have some commentary free from, ads or whatever else about what's going on, I think, in the last 2 weeks. Josh and I are working out the schedule. Just going to be a short little episode because I feel compelled or stupid. I don't know, whatever you wouldn't call it. But I mean, there's a lot going on. And I just feel like I don't know. That's why you're entitled to my opinion, right? That's what they say. Anyway,
Of course.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Tina. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you.